Hey guys, welcome to the seminar and webinar, online seminar. What I want to share with you today is how to create the secrets to creating a compelling future. So that's really what I'm going to do with you today. And what we're going to do is we're going to work together to first create a goal, then we're going to make sure that it's a compelling goal. We're going to not just create a goal and then write it down. We're literally going to plant this goal in your future using the power of NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis. So just continue listening on, because I'm sure that you've had a time in your life where you've set a goal and you've had the best intentions. Maybe it's a New Year's resolution, and you're like, I should really do this, and you're setting your goal and you're all excited about it, and then what happens? Well, it doesn't quite work out the way you want. But I'm sure you've had other times where you've set goals and for some reason they've magically worked out, and you're not really sure about the difference between the goals that didn't work out and the goals that did. So what about if I'm able to share with you how you can actually set goals, and every time you set a goal that it really works for you, that this time it's going to compel you, it's going to drive you towards it, and it's literally going to reshape a lot of your actions back to the present now. So before we start, I want to share with you, first of all, I just want to have you work with me. So this is an action-orientated seminar. So as you're watching me now and you're listening to the sound of my voice, and you're sitting there in your chair, or you're standing watching this, or you're on your phone and you're watching this on the train on the way back from work, I just want to first have you stop. And now I want you to think about a time when you felt like you could have it all, when you just knew that you could have whatever you wanted, when you just had that knowing that you could have it all, or thinking of a time when you could have it all. Take time to think about that time when you had it all, when you knew that you could have it all. And as you think about that time now, thinking of that time when you knew you could have it all, notice what you saw around you. Notice what you could see. Notice the pictures or the movies that are playing through your mind. Notice what you heard. Notice any of the sounds. Notice what you're saying to yourself inside. And notice any sounds that were around you at the time. Now notice how you felt. Notice how you felt inside. Notice where the feelings are. Are they in your head or chest or stomach? And just notice what you felt outside. Maybe you had your hands on a table. Maybe you're holding something. Maybe you're standing in a certain way. So notice what you felt. And just thinking of a time when you knew that you could have it all. Thinking of that time now. Now as you think of that time as you could have it all, I just want you to imagine that you've got a little dial inside. And that as you reach inside to that dial, you're actually able to turn up that dial. And as you turn up the dial, you're actually able to increase the intensity that you feel right now, feeling the feelings of feeling that you could have it all. And as you reach inside and you turn that dial now, I just want you to turn that dial now, and as you turn that dial up from wherever it is now, and you turn it all the way up so that it becomes as strong as possible. And as you turn that dial all the way up, feeling as though you could have it all now, I just want you to take your finger and place it onto your right knuckle. So left finger on your right knuckle, pressing it down, feeling those feelings of that you could have it all, that you could have whatever you wanted, and just knowing. Feeling those feelings now, and take your finger away. And I just want you to clear the screen. Whatever you do, don't think of purple monkeys. Okay, very good. So what we just did there is we just created a really good resource for you. So I'll go into that a little bit more later and why we did that. But for now, I just want you to start the brainstorming. So perhaps before you got on the seminar, you were thinking about a goal that you want to achieve. Maybe it's been something you wanted to achieve for a long time. Maybe it's something that has recently come up that it's something that you really are inspired by. It's something that you would just absolutely love to achieve, that finally it's your time, and you just know that this is the time that when you set this goal, having that knowing that you can have it all, and knowing that this is the time, the right time in the right place, that all the things that you could be doing now, you're standing here or you're sitting here watching this video, interacting with me here now. So I want to just have you think of that goal that you would most like to achieve. Maybe it's a goal that you want to address your health. Maybe it has to do with your body composition, with the way you feel in your clothes. Maybe it has to do with the size of your body. Maybe it has to do with your health. In other words, with maybe you've been neglecting the health of your body for a long time. Maybe you want to be able to take your health to the place where you've always wanted it to be, and you just haven't quite found a compelling enough reason, or maybe it just hasn't worked out for you. So if it's health related, get that clear in your mind. If it's business or job related, you know, maybe you want to pay rise at your job, maybe you want to reach another level at your job, maybe your business, maybe you want to be able to reach that next level, maybe you want to reach that next income level, maybe you want to produce more of your service, or maybe you want to move more of your product. Perhaps you want to improve your relationships in your life. Maybe there's a relationship with a special someone, maybe it's a girlfriend or lover or wife, or maybe it's your husband or partner. Whatever it is, if it's in the relationship area, then think of that goal. Think of what you would most like. If you don't have an intimate partner, or you're not dating anyone right now and you're single and you want to be in a relationship, then think about what your goal would be for that. Maybe I'm in a relationship with XYZ person by this amount of time. So just thinking of the type of goal. I hope you've got that goal firmly in your mind of what you would most like to achieve. I'm sure you've got that goal in your mind now. So as you've got that goal in your mind now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to run on to the next step, which is where you're going to go into a process of really breaking that goal down and getting really specific on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through, as you're working with me here on this in the seminar. I'm going to guide you with we're going to break this goal down and make it very specific, and we're going to shape your goal so that it's really compelling, so that you feel really good about it, so that you can see it clearly and that it sounds right to you. So let's start off by getting really specific. Now, I hope you got your pen and paper out. If you don't have your pen and paper, run over and grab your pen and paper. So do that now if you need to. Run over and grab your pen and paper. So now that you've got your pen and paper, for those people that are running away or whatever, now that you have your pen and paper, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to write down your goal in present tense. And what I would like you to do, I'm not going to write it out on the blackboard because it would probably take me too much time, but here's what I want you to write. So as you're watching me now and you're listening to me now and you're in your seat, or you're watching or you're standing, I'd like you to write this out. It is now the 1st of July. Actually, it is now the 7th. Turn that 1 into a 7. It is now the 7th of July, 2014, and I have just, and then leave a little gap, leave a space, leave a couple of lines. So it is now July the 7th, 2014, and I have now, or I am now, leave a gap, and then the next part is, at the bottom, I'm so happy and grateful. Okay, now we're going to fill it in. We're going to fill it in by, we're going to first work out what is the last thing that has to happen for you to know that you've reached this goal. So I'm going to work a little bit faster with you now, so if you need to watch the replay of the seminar, then go through and do that. But we're going to speed things up a little bit more now, so get your pen out and write as fast as you can. So speeding things up. So what we're going to do is we want to reach a point and narrow your focus into the area of what has to happen, what has to be the last thing that has to happen in order for you to know that you've reached your goal. Relationship, job, business, health. What is the last thing that has to happen? So this is how specific we're going to get. If it's a health goal, then I don't recommend measuring your goal through scales, because scales make a lot of people cry. So I usually tend to throw out the scales. Anyway, so if it's a health goal and it's a goal where you want to improve your health, if it has to do with shrinking the body or losing some toxins and losing some excess body fat that may be keeping you back from full health, then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of that last point that you need to get. It could be, and here's a really good one that I work with a lot of my clients who decide to start coaching with me, is that we set a goal, and the last thing that has to happen for a lot of ladies is that they're fitting inside of a dress that is a very specific dress, or a type of clothing or garment that is in a store. It's a specific label, because as you all know, the changes in the sizes vary from store to store and from label to label. So you pick the label, you pick the dress, and you pick the store that you'll be trying it on in, and your goal will reach something like it is now July the 7th, 2014, and I'm standing in the clothing store in the changing room, zipping up the back of my dress, which is a size, you add the size in, 12, 10, 16, whatever it is, which is a size, and I can hear the sound of cash registers changing. I can hear the sound of staff in the store. I can hear the clang of coat hangers, and I can feel the dress as I run my hands down my body. I can feel the dress on me, and I can and I can see myself in the mirror, and I can see the changing rooms, and I just know that I've reached my goal, and I'm so happy and grateful. Okay, so that's the way you're filling in your goal. So if it's a dress, you're in the changing room, the last thing you're doing is zipping it up to know that you've accomplished your goal. So you're zipping it up, and then you're looking around and etc. So what's the last thing that has to happen? So note that down now, write that out as you can. We're gonna write this out a few times and tweak it. So if your goal is a business goal or a job goal, is it a certain income level? And if it's a certain income level, then perhaps you're at home and you're logged onto your net banking, and you can feel the, you would write your goal out as it is now July the 7th, 2014, and I'm now sitting at home on the couch feeling the air conditioner blow against me now. And as I feel the air conditioner blow against me, I look at my statement, my bank statement, and it has XYZ dollars on it, and I hear the sound of birds chirping outside, and I just know that seeing that number means that I've reached my business goal. If it's a product goal, then maybe you can replace it with, the last thing that needs to happen. I'm standing at work, we're just doing a review, and I'm saying about how I've just looked at the computer system, or I've just looked at the system, or I've just noticed the numbers here that we've just reached a volume goal where we've just produced this amount of results. So job or business, health, relationships. So perhaps you want to meet that special someone. So if you're going to put that one together, then it would be something along the lines of, it is now July 7th, 2014, and I have just changed my, I've just changed my Facebook status update to relationship after having a conversation with this person I've recently started dating, and they're excited to say that we're in a relationship, let's say. So the last thing that needs to happen is I'm just changing my Facebook update as I'm now in a relationship. Or it could be you're on a date, maybe you've made it to the 5th date, you're out at dinner, you're out at a movie, or you're very specifically, let's say you're out at dinner, you've just finished dinner, you have just had a great conversation with this new person, and you've talked about where things are going. In other words, would you like to make this a relationship or make this a deal, and explore how things are going from there? Whatever way that you define the last thing that needs to happen is fine. So now that you've defined the last thing that needs to happen, we just want to shape the goal so that it is realistic. So if it's what we've done is we've created your goal around being measurable already. So it's nice and measurable, it's crafted in a way, and we're going to do a recap of this soon so that it's reshaped for you in the right way. But it needs to be measurable. In other words, that's why if it's been a dress size, it's been a specific size. If it's been a job or a volume moves, it's specific numbers and income numbers. If it's a relationship, then it's a conversation that you have with that person about going the next step forward. So it needs to be really measurable. So how will you measure your goal's achievement? The next thing is, so we've already done a little bit of that, but if you need to make some tweaks now, then go and do your tweaks, of course, as you're scratching around on your paper, writing everything. And you can tell I'm a lefty, right? So the next thing you need to do is you need to make sure that your goal is attainable in the time frame that you've set. So is this an attainable goal for you? And no one can really tell you whether it's attainable or not, only you know. But, one second. So is it attainable? In other words, if someone wanted to, let's say that they wanted to go from a size 30 dress size down to a size 10 in 3 months, it's not possible. not physically impossible, not physically possible at least. So is your goal attainable? In other words, within the time frame that you've set. Is it attainable based upon your last results? Is it attainable based upon, sure, you're going to, as a result of setting this goal, you're going to have some shifts and you're going to kind of re-evaluate things all the way back to now, but is it going to be attainable? So make sure that your goal is really attainable. So don't blow it way out of proportion, bring it back in if you need to, and keep it balanced. So the next is your goal realistic? In other words, is it realistic within the time frame that you set it in? Is it realistic for you and based on your capabilities that you have now? Is it realistic, in other words, like with the sizing, 30 from a, size 30 to a size 10 in 3 months, not quite realistic. Income level, if it's an income level for your job or your business or a pay rise, then, for a job you may not be expecting to have a pay rise of $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is. It just has to be realistic for where you're at. Volume has to be realistic for your for your relationship. It has to be realistic as well. So, is it realistic based upon where you live, based upon your past history with relationships? Is it realistic based upon what you know and how you feel about yourself? So sure, you will make progress, a lot of progress towards this goal, but are these things realistic? So just keep that in mind. The next thing is your goal timed? So do you have a time limit set on your goal? Yes, because we started that whole structure at the initial point, and July the 7th is around 3 months from the time that you're here now with me interacting on the seminar. So that is the overall structure, and you can call that SMART down the side, okay? So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to give you a moment to as you reshape your goal now, keeping in mind that it's SMART. And I'm just going to leave you some notes up here so that you can begin to finish reshaping your goal. And let me just repeat the sentence for you. If it is a dress size that you're wanting to fit into and you're wanting to reach a particular health goal, then what you would say is it is now July the 7th, whatever day it is also useful. Get specific on the day. If you don't know, grab your calendar and check it out. It is now July the 7th, 2014. I'm standing in the clothing store let's say the JJ's clothing store, zipping up a Bonzi dress, which is a size 12, and I look into the mirror and I can see myself, and as I run my hands down my body, I can feel how I fit in the dress, and I can hear the cash registers chinging off and the people speaking outside the change rooms. And I now know that I've reached my goal, and I'm so happy and grateful. Cool. How are we doing for time? Okay. So that's for say a health goal. Now your health goal may be different, so think of the last thing that needs to happen. If you're a business, for example, maybe you run a home business, or maybe you run a traditional business, or retail business, or shipping goods business, whatever your business is, what's the last thing that has to happen in order for you to know that you've reached your business goal? Okay, so that last thing that may need to happen in order for you to know that you've reached your business goal, as an example, that sentence would write out as, it is now the 7th of July 2014, and I have just looked at my online banking for my business for how much we have earned over the past week, and we have now earned $5,000 for the week total for the business, and I now know that I have reached the business goal as I hear the air conditioning blowing against me, and I can feel the cushion of the couch as I sit on it and look at my net bank savings. I now know that I've reached my business goal, and I'm so happy and grateful. How about for your relationship? Like the restaurant example, it is now July the 7th. It is now July, am I mixing up the date? It is now July the 7th, 2014, and I am sitting across the table from this new person in my life, and I now know that I've reached my relationship goal because I can see this person in front of me. We've just agreed that we're in a relationship. As I look around and I notice the restaurant and the tables and the person in front of me, and I feel comfortable with this person, or I feel good about this connection, and as I sit I can feel the cushions beneath me, and I hear the sound of the music in the restaurant, and I know I've reached my goal. I'm so happy and grateful. Okay, so you're going to reshape your goal so that you're encompassing the things you see, the things you hear, and what you feel. Okay, so now that you've written out your goal now, and if I'm moving a little bit slow for you or I'm moving a little bit fast, you can always revisit this, the replay of this when you need to. So this next step we're going to go to is we're going to go into enriching that goal, and then we're going to move to the next phase after that. So let's get started. Okay, so now that you've got your goal set up, as far as you've got the sentence set up, you've got the last thing that needs to happen, you've created it so that it's smart. Now what we want to do is we want to really enrich and make this the most real for you as possible. So what we're going to do now is I just want you to notice what you've created, the sentence. I want you to read it out and then notice the picture, the feelings and the sounds that show up for you now. So as you read through that goal, I want you to notice the things that you see, the things that you hear, and the things that you feel. Now, focusing on what you see and the picture or the movie that you've created for yourself, I want you to notice the colors, if it's in color. And I just want you to make the colors more real. So make the greens greener and the reds redder and the blues bluer. And just alter that picture so that it gives you the most real, the most realness, and it seems the most real to you. Now I want you to adjust the focus. So if it's a little bit blurry or it's a little more focused, adjust the focus, make it more clear and more crisp, and notice what that does for you. Now if the picture is really far away or if it's really close, adjust how far away it is to you, bring it closer. And notice if that gives you a more real effect, or push it away a little bit more. And notice if that feels the most real for you. Now, is it a movie playing or is it a still? Change it to a still if it's a movie and see if that makes it more real. Change it to a movie if it's a still and see if that makes it more real. Okay, good. Now the sounds. I just want you to notice the sounds, and if you need to, any sounds that are around you outside your body, I just want you to turn those sounds up. Make them more clear. Make the pitch higher or lower. Just alter the clarity of that. Turn the volume up if you need to. Just make a change with that volume and notice what gives it the most real feeling. Good. Now, I want you to notice what you're saying to yourself. If you're saying anything to yourself, notice what you're saying and change it if you need to. And maybe it's, what's the sound that you usually use when you know that you've reached a goal, when you know you've achieved something? When you know you've achieved a goal, what's the sound that you use? What do you say to yourself? Some people will say yes, or fantastic, or I know what I've achieved. So what do you say to yourself when you know you've achieved something? So maybe put that in there if it's not there already. If it's like a yes, and put that in there. Okay, now what are you feeling? So what are you feeling inside your body knowing you've achieved your goal? As you notice the sounds and everything going around you that you can see. So what are you feeling through your body? Just adjust those feelings if you need to. Turn them up a little bit. Imagine you've got a little dial and you can just reach inside, grab that dial and turn it all the way up. And as you turn it all the way up, those feelings become more real for you, whether they're in your head, your chest, your stomach, or through your whole body. They just become more intense and more real for you. So just adjust the intensity of those feelings so that it becomes the most real for you. Okay, very good. So just holding that in your mind now. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you now to step out of the picture so you can see yourself in the picture. And as you step out of that picture, I just want you to almost snap that into place so that you've got that locked in place, just like a Tupperware container. You know the sound that it makes when it clicks shut? Click. Just want you to click all that in place. Good. Click. Do that now. Great. Okay. Now just clear the screen for a moment. We can revisit that in a moment. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like to get a little bit of unconscious conscious cooperation. So if I were to ask your unconscious mind, I'm going to ask you a question now, and of course just take the first answer that comes to your mind. If I were to ask your unconscious mind, where's your past, to what direction would you point? And just take the first answer that comes to your mind. Perhaps you pointed left, perhaps you pointed back. For everyone, you know, I have an idea. If I was to ask your unconscious mind now, where's your past? I have an idea that you might say it's from front to back, or left to right, or up to down, or in some direction in relation to you, to your body. So whatever answer comes to you is fine. So if I were to ask your unconscious mind, where's your past, to what direction would you point? Okay, good. So just notice that direction and write that down. Put an arrow or something like that. Circle for your head, and then an arrow. So for some people, past is out here. For some, it's out behind them. For some, it's straight above them. So whatever it is for you, just note that down. And your future. If I were to ask your unconscious mind now, and your future, if I were to ask your unconscious mind now, where's your future? To what direction would you point? Okay, you're pointing right? Or are you pointing straight ahead? Or are you pointing up or diagonal? Just notice what first comes to your mind. If I were to ask your unconscious mind, where's your future? To what direction would you point? Good, so just note that down as well. Now, as you notice the directions that you pointed to, do you notice that they imply a line? That they imply some sort of line? Good. Now when I say a line, I don't only mean visual, because in a moment I'm going to ask you to float up above that line, and by float I mean as sounds floating on the wind, or as clouds floating through the bathtub, or visually. However you float up above your timeline is fine. So what I'd like to have you do now is I'd like to have you float up above your timeline, and float up nice and high above your timeline, and just remaining above your timeline, I'll have you float back into the past. Are you there? Good. Now just have you float all the way out into your future. And as you float all the way out into your future. Are you there? Good. Now just have you float all the way back to now. All the way back to now, and then come all the way down into the room. And you're looking through your own eyes. Very good. Very good. Okay. So, how did you find that? I hope you found that useful. I'm sure you found it a bit of an interesting experience. Okay. So, now what we're going to do is I'm going to have you just clear your mind for a moment. Whatever you do, don't think of purple monkeys. Okay. So, now just clear your mind. As you watch me now, you listen to the sound of my voice, and you notice the timeline that you created and that you were floating up above just a moment ago. I just want you to bring up the picture. I just want to bring up your goal. So bring up your goal now. Bring up that picture. Bring up the sounds. Bring up the feelings. Bring that all up now. And bring that up inside your mind. And as you think of that last thing that needs to happen in order for you to know that you've achieved your goal, I just want you to remember a time when you knew that you could have it all. Yeah, you've got that time. And as you remember that time of knowing that you could have it all, I just want you to press your finger down on that knuckle and just notice those feelings again. Notice those feelings through your body of having those, knowing you could have it all. Good, okay. So, Now I just want you to make sure you brought up the picture again. So bring up the picture of your goal. The last thing that needs to happen in order for you to know that you've achieved your goal. So bring that up, and as you bring that up now, I just want you to float up above your timeline. So just do that now. As you watch this video, float up above your timeline and floating above your timeline now, floating above your timeline now. I'll just have you float nice and high above your timeline, and I'll have you bring up that goal in your mind while you're floating above the timeline. And as you're floating above your timeline with the goal in your mind, we're going to energize this picture. We're going to energize it by blowing 4 deep breaths into that picture. So we're going to do this now. We're going to take all the energy that's inside each breath, and we're going to take that energy and we're going to blow that into that picture, into that image. So we're going to do this now, okay? So you're going to breathe in through your nose, and then you're going to breathe out the energy into that picture in your mind as you float above your timeline. And you're just going to do that now. So just breathing in through your nose now, and breathing out through your mouth. And breathing in through your nose, energizing your picture. Breathing in through your nose, and breathing all that energy into that picture. In through your nose, and out into that picture. Good. Now I just want you to grab that energized picture, and I just want you to float all the way out into the future, into your timeline, well above your timeline, floating all the way out into your future to July the 7th, 2014. With that specific date that you chose, and that specific day, floating all the way out now, all the way out into your future, all the way out, right above your timeline. Okay, so floating all the way above your timeline, nice and high. Noticing that you reach that point now. Reaching that point, reaching that date, looking down on that time, looking down on that date, July the 7th, 2014. Noticing the day, noticing the date, noticing that in your timeline now. And what you're going to do is you're going to just take that energized picture and you're going to drop it down, and it's going to float all the way down into your timeline, and it's going to float all the way down to the point where it reaches, it floats all the way down into that date, and it just slots right in there, and it just clicks right into your timeline. Just allowing that picture to float all the way down into your timeline, into that date, July the 7th, 2014. Really good. Okay. Now that you've just planted that goal, I'd like you to look back over your timeline, and as you look back over your timeline, I'd like you to notice the events between then and now rearrange themselves in order to support this new goal. Noticing those events rearrange themselves in order to support this goal as you float above your timeline now. Okay, so just noticing that. Noticing all the changes, noticing your unconscious mind rearrange itself, and all the events rearrange themselves from then all the way back to now. And now I'll just have you float all the way back to now, come all the way back to the present now, floating all the way over your future, all the way back to now. Come all the way back to now, and come all the way down, all the way down, and all the way down into the room. And coming down into this room, and you're looking through your own eyes now. And just clear the screen. Good. Okay. So you've just planted a goal in your future successfully. We've made it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and it's timed, and you've got the sentence written out. So congratulations, you've just finished the goal setting program. You've just learned the secrets to creating a compelling future that will, this particular goal will not only you'll find will drive you to take new action that you may have not have taken before. It will be very compelling for you in ways that other goals haven't been in the past. And perhaps if you're one of the people who is watching the seminar and you have reached your goals, perhaps you've reached some of your goals, or you consistently reach goals. Perhaps there was part of this process that you recognize that you've already done yourself. And of course, over 100,000 people worldwide have used this same method in order to plant goals into their future, in order to create a compelling future and realize their goals and reach them in ways that they never thought possible. So I really want to hear your feedback from this seminar. So as things progress for you and you move towards your goal and you reach your goal, I want you to call me up. I want you to send me a message on Facebook, send me an email. Hey Nick, I achieved my goal. This is amazing. What else can I do? And the recording of this video will be available. So if you want to create new goals in your future, not just one, then you can do that also. And I would encourage you to set goals in the health, in the relationship areas, in the financial areas, in the business area, and also in the spiritual area. So health, business, relationships, finances, and spirituality. And even if you don't believe in say, in traditional spirituality or whatever way that you define spirituality, it's always useful to set goals in all areas of our lives so that we maintain a really good balance. So I hope you've enjoyed this coaching experience. If you'd like to book in your free 1-hour coaching call with me, feel free to click the link below, jump onto the coaching link, coaching tab of my website, nickritchielive.com, and you'll be able to give me a call, send me an email, and book in your free 1-hour NLP coaching call as a result of watching this video. So I hope you've enjoyed this coaching session. If you'd like more of that, a lot of the time when we set our goals in the future, challenges come up for us. A lot of the time they're internal challenges because all of us are creating our reality moment by moment based on our beliefs, our perceptions, our attitudes. So if you find that challenges come up, or that challenge has popped up for you as a result of setting this goal, maybe it's self-doubt, maybe it's fear, maybe it's resentment of the past and things that you weren't able to achieve that you think it's going to be the same. Maybe you have some limiting beliefs around that. I'd love to help you to break through that with a 1-hour free coaching call. So take advantage of this opportunity. It won't be available forever. So click on the link below, go to nickritchielive.com, book in your free 1-hour coaching session. I hope you've enjoyed this coaching seminar of the secrets to creating a compelling future. And if you'd like anything, just send me a message and I'll catch you soon for another seminar. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.